Hi, everybody. For those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. And for those of you who have seen this channel before, welcome back. My name is Michelle the Bookworm, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a book review of a book that I read last month, and I really enjoyed reading it. I read it for my Goodreads book club, and I read it on my Kindle. It was Neil Gaiman's The Ocean at the End of the Lane. So I read this book, like I said, for my Goodreads book club, and there's two main characters. So the first main character is our narrator. We actually never get his name, but it's written in first person, so I'm going to assume that it's Neil Gaiman who is writing as the main character, possibly. The main character is about 9 years old, um, and he's still in uh, I believe he's like in the first or second grade. And then that's like the primary character, and then like the secondary main character is a girl named Letty Hempstock. She's this intelligent, bright girl from a neighboring house who teaches our main character kind of about the magical world and just kind of like about the world around him. One thing that I find really interesting is that we never get the main character's first name ever throughout the entire book. So that's another reason why I'm pretty sure that Neil Gaiman is the main character, because or that you're meant to be the main character, or like you're meant to be read in as the main character, or it's Neil Gaiman as the main character, because you never get his name. So a bit of an overview. The main character in the beginning is visiting his hometown as an adult after a funeral. And then after the funeral, it's after the funeral, but before the wake, he goes and he takes a trip to see the ocean at the end of the lane, which is essentially like this pond where he used to spend time with his childhood friend, Letty Hempstock. Um, and after talking to Letty's mother and grandmother, he begins to remember everything that happened to his childhood friend and like that whole like circumstance and what she taught him about the magical world. So there's a few themes in this book that I thought really stood out, and the first one that was really major to me was the magical realism of this story. It touches on magic in a way that I've never read before. It treats magic, especially particularly Letty Hempstock, she treats magic as if it just is. We have it, it's all around us, it's in nature, it's not extraordinary, it just is. And I think that that's kind of like really impacting no matter like what belief you are, like just that having that healing energy is just constantly around you. Um, However, even though magic can be useful, people can be greedy with it. And the main character, and that ends up being a problem later on in the story. Um, the main character asks a lot of questions about, to Letty, and she basically just kind of like gives him the basic answer that she can. Once she trusts him, she opens up more and more about her practices, and for her, this is just something that she's been taught all her life. So she says it very thoughtfully and very matter-of-factly, like, yes, this is how it is. This is how magic operates. So another magical thing that happens in this book is that something supernatural is granting people's wishes and giving them what they desire, but in kind of a twisted way. Kind of like, I guess you would think of as like a genie would. For example, like some people wanted money. If people wanted money, coins would start falling out of the sky and like pelting them, and causing harm. And even our main character woke up and like was choking on like a coin. So it's like killing them with what they want. So the boy ends up going to Letty's farm on a regular basis, and he spends a lot of time there. When he goes back as an adult, he goes back to the farm, and all of his childhood memories that he had forgotten come rushing back. But as soon as he leaves the farm again, it just kind of like feels like a dream. So that kind of has that like magical, did this happen? Did this not happen? Like, how does he know? And just a very like liminal space. Another really important theme in this book is the connection between magic and children. The main character is an avid reader, and it's kind of a common knowledge that it's a common trope in books that children can see magic because they haven't been told that magic isn't real yet. And this is kind of like what happens to our main character. When things start to get worse for his family due to toxic beings called fleas, I'll talk to you more about that in a minute. But when things start to get worse for his family, he takes matters into his own hands with the help of Letty. And I think this is so important because even though he's scared, even though he doesn't want to, even though he's like feels alone, he ends up conquering his fear with that magic in order to save his friend and family. So it's also that like overcoming that inner anxiety and like realizing that you have that power to protect the ones that you love. There are things called fleas. They are beings from the old world. And there are doorways between the old world and the new world. And it's known by Letty and her family that you have to be careful not to open this doorway, otherwise those fleas will come in. And I think that this is really reflective of kind of who we let into our lives. In the book, in order to make more money, this boy's family ended up making him share a room with his sister so that they could rent out his bedroom as like a room and board for a traveler named Ursula. Already didn't like the name. Some people can make us feel good, and Ursula was the type of person that made the family feel good about themselves, but ended up being a very toxic person in their household. And toxic people can make us question ourselves and the innate magic that we have inside of us, and that's what happened with our main character, is that while she was kind of flattering everyone else around her. He knew something was up, and she kind of like honed in on that as something to attack. And I think that this kind of like, along with trying to like protect yourself from unhealthy people, I think it's also like it reflects the idea that you're supposed to then replace that emptiness of like when you get rid of those toxic people, of like replacing them with healthy people. Instead of staying at home, where our main character felt like, you know, his dad was always trying to make him be more of a man, and his mom was just always fussing over him. He went over to Letty's house and started like, and he was just accepted. He was fed. He learned so much. So instead of staying at home, he started going over to Letty's, and it was a place where he felt safe. He felt loved. Of course, he loved his family, but he also was so like he didn't feel like he could be himself. Like his family was constantly trying to change who he was, and like he wasn't even sure who he was yet. He was still trying to figure that out, and his anxiety just didn't let him do that. So those are the 3 major themes about this book that I really, really liked, and just my thoughts about it. I don't want to give too much away because I do want you to read it. So as for the rating of this book, I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5. I could not put this book down. I was constantly reading it. It's one of those books that you end up thinking about, like after you put it down. It's something that you just keep churning over in your head and trying to like connect the pieces again. And you'll go back and reread it and read it and get something out of it each time. If I read it again and understood it more, I might have given it a 5 out of 5. But as of right now, I'm gonna stick with the 4 out of 5 until I read it again. Just because it was a fun read, but there were times where I didn't know what was going on. It was kind of a bit of a roller coaster. And so I think if I read it again and I know what's going to happen, I'll understand a little bit more. I know when I read, I tend to kind of like get excited and just speed read. But it's a wonderful book. It introduces magic in a wonderful way that I've never read before, and that's something that I'm always looking for, is something that's introducing a familiar topic in a different way. So I guess my end of the video question isn't necessarily one that is necessarily thought-provoking, but just something that I'm wondering. What kind of magical realism books have you read lately that was really, really just thought-provoking and that kind of like stands out to you? Because I would definitely love to read them. Feel free to leave a comment in the link below what magical realism book you've read lately and would recommend to me. In the meantime, I guess I kind of want my end of the video like thought to be just cherish like the inner magic that each one of us has. And don't let the big bad fleas take it out of you. Anyway, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you very soon. Yeah, I'll see you soon. All right, read on, bookworms. Bye!